Welcome to the Craftsman Online podcast, the only 5-star rated Masonic podcast endorsed by the Grand Lodge of New York. Any opinions, thoughts, or viewpoints shared during this program are that of the individual and do not reflect the official position of any Grand Lodge, appendant, or concordant body from which that member may hail. I'm your host, Brother Michael Arce, co-founder of CraftsmanOnline.com, and you've joined us for an interesting discussion on my Masonic journey, becoming an accepted Freemason. And I know I say this all the time with every guest, like, oh, I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to this episode. But it's fair to say this one has been at least a year in the works as we bring on our guest for this special podcast, Brother Luis Diaz, who is a entered apprentice Mason for Onion Creek Lodge, number 220 of the Grand Lodge of Texas. Welcome to the Craftsman Online podcast, hermano.
Hermano, it's an honor, a privilege, and I'm really happy to say this out loud. Dear Brother Michael Arce, thank you for having me here this evening.
I would say about a year ago, I was like, I'm interested to hear how we're going to have this conversation. It's interesting because we're connecting here at the beginning of 2023, and that's about where our paths crossed around this time last year. And I don't want to give too much away because I want to hear your words, because I believe every brother, every man has a very interesting origin story that traces their steps to becoming a Freemason. And yours has two beginnings. So tell us where your interest in Freemasonry began and the path that you took to become a member of a lodge.
Oh boy. I'll say like it all started like way back in my native country, Peru. And I'm originally from Chiclayo. It's a city up north. So I remember I was a little kid, and the lodge, it's close. The building of the lodge in my hometown is close to the downtown. So I was walking with my mom, and I see these guys in tuxedos going into this building that is always closed. And for some reason, I've seen some movement at nighttime. And I was like, "Hey, Mom, what's going on there?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know, but I think they're worship the devil. So don't look at them." I'm like,
El Diablo.
El Diablo. I was like, that's the party I want to go. Right? Because I was going to Sunday Mass, everybody gets, nice dresses, but those guys are wearing a tuxedo. That must be cool. So that's the first thing, I saw the square campus and all that. And I was like, all right, that seems cool, caught my attention, and that slipped for a while. And then through history, as I like to read about history and all that. So my favorite hero of the Peruvian history is Miguel Grau, Seminario, which actually his portrait, it's on what used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but at Queen's England's office, there's a portrait of him because he was a great mastermind of warcraft and strategic Navy captain. He was a mastermind of all that. So he was also a Mason. And then I keep digging in. Simón Bolívar, it was also a Mason. And then my favorite comedian, Cantinflas, Mario Moreno Cantinflas, Mexican, also a Mason. I'm like, all right, these guys know something that I don't know and I want to know. There got to be something there. So, and then when I was living in California, I reached out to the Grand Lodge of California about 4 times, no answer. And then I reached out to, I saw in Spanish, Masonería, in Español. I was like, all right, someone got to answer, right? So I reached out to them, and that's why I started my journey. I got initiated there in the Scottish Rite. And then after, through life goes on, now I'm here, free and accepted in Texas now.
We're gonna get to that part, because that's the part of the story to me that is the real grist of your journey. But there was so much that had happened, and we connected after an episode that we did on the Craftsman Online podcast, and I'll share it in the notes, on clandestine Masonry. And I get this email from a Luis Diaz in San Antonio, Texas, and Austin, Texas. Sorry,
yeah,
we get wonderful messages from brothers, all over now. And you were striking up a conversation with me, and part of it was that you believed that you were not a regular Mason, and so as a member of the Grand Lodge of New York, immediately the red lights are going off in my head, like, be careful, you have to guard yourself. And the back and forth exchange that we had, it was like, well, I'm in New York, I can't really help you in Texas, I don't know brothers in Texas for you to become a Mason, but here's how you would find them, and kind of good luck, and was hoping that you would kind of find your way. But then over time, this email correspondence that we had evolved into, well, hey dude, here's my number, why don't you just call me sometime and we'll talk. And
Yeah.
we would have wonderful conversations. And what was interesting was, I knew, as we are told in the ritual, the first place that you're prepared to be made a Mason is in your heart, and the next place is actually in a Masonic lodge. And I know that you had taken the steps to go through Masonry through a Spanish speaking lodge or Grand Lodge or body format. And if there was anybody that I had wished was a quote unquote regular Mason, that's what was so painful in our conversations, that I knew that that was something that you desired most to do. So let's talk a little bit about that experience. Most of the brothers, I'm sure, and you've had conversations with those, and I don't like to use the word clandestine. I think that clandestine Masons are those that are members of wannabe Masonic groups. And then I think there are the irregular lodges where they're just not recognized through amity with a formal Grand Lodge, but yet their ritual and a lot of what they do is pretty much in line with what we would consider mainstream Masonry to be. And that's what I kind of felt was comparable with your story, when we would just talk about, like, oh, so what was your lodge like? Like, you were actually the master of your lodge at one point.
That's correct. Well, like you said, like clandestine. It's not something shady that they did, or they tried to get money from me. Like it happened to Brother Abdul. And the phrase that really struck the conversation, and where it strike all the emotions in me, was the part that the first place that you become a Mason is it's at heart. So I truly believe I did. Right. So that's why when I connect with all these brothers, they're wonderful people on my old lodge. Wonderful people, wonderful brothers. They just wanted to work in Spanish. I didn't get, supercharged like thousands of dollars, to get this and that. And it actually made me work for it. For all my degrees, they make me work, not proficiency. Like it's in Texas right now, that everything is by memory. Right. But they made me write a lot. You have to read a lot. I remember as soon as I get initiated, I tried to impress my new brothers. Oh, yeah, this and that. And I used to be a musician, I like music and all that. They're like, oh, wonderful. Why don't you write about silence? I'm like, what? not music? Not noises, sounds, harmony? No? They're like, no, why don't you write about the silence, the power of silence, what silence means to you? What do you find in silence? My head exploded. And as Latinos in the dramatic part, we have to grasp all that. And they're like, you want to find silence? Put yourself into a dark room, quiet down your mind, and see what silence got to say to you. I was like, that exercise right there. And your mind goes to different directions, and try to grasp that moment, what silence actually really means. And then you try to do your research about it. And philosophically and esoterically, like silence was even before nothing. And it's the power of creation of silence and all that. So I was like, my head exploded, and those kind of things, they made me work for it. So in order for me to achieve my degrees until I became a master, and we did the chairs, I have to be an officer, and then I became a union warden, senior warden, and then I got elected to be a master of my lodge. So all the things were were fine, and then I wanted to go somewhere else and visit the other brothers around the world. Yeah, we can't do that.
That's when you found out. Yeah.
And that's what, okay. And there's some history behind, because the movement of people trying to work Masonry in Spanish. There's a lot of the brothers over there that they come from regular lodges in the original countries. They just don't speak English, or they're afraid to do it. They're older. So they went and looked like, hey, we wanted to practice masonry, like, but no habla inglés. Sorry, Charlie, you cannot do that. And I'm talking about this started like probably 25 plus years ago. And, as an immigrant, you feel more comfortable in your native language.
Right.
But now, I'm learning something new. I want to learn the ritual in Portuguese because I want to go to Brazil and visit brothers over there. I speak Portuguese too. And the other thing is like there's so many other things that happens in regular lodges that you just don't know. Like I heard the brothers talking, there's some different kinds of rituals. There's they have Italian ritual that the Italian lodge that I heard here on the podcast. There's some other ritual here in Texas that happened. It was a brother was a Muslim and they brought the Quran, and it was a kind of different initiation. I mean, there's some beautiful things going on. You just don't know.
Right.
And that's kind of like what the story got, a little bit like, okay, hold on, what's going on? What happened? And when they gave me the reasons why they started the movement, as an immigrant, it strikes your heart, because, I mean, we wanted to do what we wanted to do, but we weren't recognized. We're still not recognized. And before I leaving, I told my brothers, I'm like, hey, man, this is what's going on. There's nobody here in Texas. And I want to work. I want to keep working on this. It's a beautiful thing. My wife told me, like, you need your brothers. Whatever you guys are doing, you need them. So you got to work at that. And that's what I did. And I remember Brother Fernando from my old lodge. He told me, hey, man, if you want to work and you find people to work with, what we're doing by heart is honest. And if you got to go there, that's where you got to go. Forget about what everybody's going to say. Like, why are you going to there? No.
Right.
You got to do what you got to do because follow your heart first. And if you find connection with the people and that's the place that you got to go, man, go. Nobody's going to hate you. Who's going to say something about that?
Right.
So follow your heart, go there and do what you got to do. And here I am.
And that's the part that I love about your story, because I think a lot of us listening, if for some reason, we as regular Masons were then told, oh, no, your practice of Freemasonry is not recognized in this country or in this part of the world. We don't recognize what you do. You have to go become one of us and relearn things. You're like, yeah, no, I'm good. I think most guys would just be like, you know what, then I'll just, and that's the part for me where knowing that you were in California for a number of years and then move with your family to Texas, I would call it like you're on the beach, like you're just in between, two shores, and you're just trying to find some sort of Masonic education, or we would say light as Brothers of the Craft. So where were you going? Were you reading books? Obviously you found, our podcast and our website, but like, how did you come upon these things?
To be honest with you, the podcast helped a lot. And all the email conversations that we had, because I remember at that time I was in an Airbnb because I was doing some remodeling here at home, and I remember, and my wife was pregnant.
Yeah, she's pregnant.
Baby.
Yeah, it's before the holidays. Yeah,
correct. And I was like, and I was talking to her like, and I heard the podcast and I heard the episode when I was walking my dog, and I told my wife, hey, I heard about this and this kind of really strike this thing in me. And she was like, send an email. Is there contact information for that guy? Talk to him. Right. Do you know anybody here? Like, it's amazing. I'm like, nope.
Right.
What worst thing that's going to happen? He might not answer. He might be, like super famous and everybody want to talk to him.
Definitely not the problem. Yeah, I don't have that problem. He might be the only Freemason with the last name, Arce that you're ever going to come across. But he says Arce all the time. Why does he say it like a gringo?
My apologies, brother Arce. My apologies.
No, I'm the one that says it. Yeah, no, I was so moved in one of the beautiful things about our friendship is that it naturally evolved from just these email conversations that we were having. And when I finally was like, I feel in no danger to myself talking to you and you talking to me just about general Masonic principles. We were not talking about parts of the ritual or anything that would violate my obligation or your obligations. We were just two like-minded men that shared an interest in something that started having conversations. And that's when I knew, okay, I got to help Luis in any way that I can find that light that he's looking for in Texas. And I'll never forget when you were like, hey, Hermano, I found this lodge. It's here in Austin. They meet on this night, but I have to start all over. And that was my biggest fear, was like, they may make you start all over as an entered apprentice. You might not be able to come in as a master mason. So let's talk about that, because that's really a gut check. That's like going back to school.
And you know what? It's okay. I was perfectly okay with that, because I learned what I had to learn. And right now I got a chance to relearn a new way. And it's as beautiful as the first one. It's interesting, and I'm really out of my comfort zone. And you're only gonna grow when you are out of your comfort zone, because I was practicing masonry in Spanish, and now it's all in English. And actually, it's all English in a way that is very unique, as Texas is doing it. And I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. I'll take that as I'm blessed by that, because I'm learning something. I'm relearning new things. I see it more like in a way to refine my knowledge and practice that, because Freemasonry is so all over the world that I want to be able to go anywhere and present myself and be proficient in the ritual that they're practicing, or at least be close to it, right, and being able to understand it. And it hurts a little bit, because you have to relearn everything and you feel lost at the beginning, right? Because in my personal journey, I don't want to do something, that it can be like, oh, you're wrong, or you know something wrong. I have to come in with an open mind. And like I told my brothers at the Onion Creek Lodge, like, I'm not here to compare. I'm here to relearn. And this is the path that you're teaching me. That's it. That's the path that I have to walk. And that's how I'm taking it.
Yeah. No. And what was interesting was, at that moment, I had just relocated to Washington, D.C., and was visiting lodges here in the Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia. And the style of masonry that's practiced here would be somewhat foreign to brothers from my home jurisdiction, which is New York State. And I'm in the same boat with you, where I'm now having to relearn the catechism, the ritual, the speaking parts, the practices of the lodge, how Masonic etiquette is carried out here, Masonic law, how it's practiced down here, versus what I'm familiar with in New York. And it's the weirdest part is, as someone who's also trying to learn Spanish, that's another thing that we bonded over, where you're like, oh, I can give you lessons. I'm like, great, I can give you ritual lessons. Then, oh my gosh, in Texas, they do mouth to ear, and their ritual isn't the same as what I know, but the basics are there. I find myself, that little voice in my head is like overriding what I'm actually reading on paper, because I spent so many years in one jurisdiction. It's like I know one language and I'm trying to learn another. I can only imagine what that would really feel like if you know Spanish Freemasonry and yet you're trying to learn English or Texas English Freemasonry.
This is all English, and there's it's all English, certain way to the pronunciation is what's killing me, because I don't know if everybody's noticing I have an accent. So
didn't notice. No.
No, like, just, if that detail pass over, but I have an accent. And but you know what, the brothers over there, they're so much welcome. They're very welcoming. You know, they're really are helping me right now. We even went, you know, like over a couple lunches, and you know, we're gonna practice, we're gonna work. Uh, because for my line of work, I kind of tend to travel quite often, quite a lot,
Mm.
probably a little too much sometimes. But even when I'm out, you know, like I'm learning everything right now to the point that I'm in the flight and I'm like going through my questioning and through certain part because I still don't know everything yet, but I'm working on it. And they're super nice. The lodge is really family oriented, and they really took me as one of their own, even when I was just visiting and a curious person. Because the very first time that I went to the lodge was to a breakfast, a social breakfast that they had on a Saturday. So I went over there. I saw the smiling faces and all that. You know, it's a good vibe. You know, I pay for my breakfast. Hey, welcome. How are you doing? You know, and I sit and watch. So just watch people, because I might want to be part of their family, but I don't know if they want me as part of their family. So I want to
Mm.
see who they are, like what they look for, and you know, like so certain things. Am I gonna be like-minded with this gentleman? So I did my part, and I like what I saw. Um, I saw some on their website. I saw some Latinos last names, and there's some variety of brothers coming in. I was like, this is it.
Yeah, you're not going to be
I,
alone. Yeah,
I like it. I
yeah,
like the vibe. And when I open my mouth and I say like, hey, uh, I'm interested in this, and this is my story.
right. Well,
You
as you
know,
know, there were two moments that I was really looking forward to in your Masonic journey here in the U.S. in Austin, Texas, and one was I knew I was going to get the phone call from a brother of the lodge during the investigation after you had submitted your petition to join the lodge, and got to spend a wonderful hour on the phone talking with that brother and just talking about you, Texas Freemasonry, why you'd be a great fit for the lodge. I was super excited. The second one has happened recently, and I want to travel back in time to talk a little bit about that. What was it like the night that you went in prepared to take that entered apprentice degree obligation?
it was pretty cool. It has uh, a really special place in my heart, and like, and it grasped everything that happened at that moment. Number one, the light went out. The lights went out. Power went out. So Texas is hot. We need AC. All the brothers are, you know, like there. But I was like, oh man, they're gonna cancel it because you need AC, you need power, you need lights and all that. And they're like, hey, you know what? We're gonna move forward. So stay here. We're gonna continue with your initiation. We're gonna give you the degree. I was like, okay, that's sign number one. And number two, I have to sit and prepare. And I close all the doors. They close all the doors and get ready. So I grasped that moment. I was truly in darkness, looking for light. I was like, okay, this is the moment. So I have to take this in. And then the ceremony was on candlelight. And it have all these moments of um the lightning, the powerful words start going through the ceremony, and the way that the light was presented to me. It's all the brothers still saying like, bro, your degree was awesome. We're gonna do it that way all the time.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And like seeing the brothers, in the dining room, breaking bread with them and all that. Now seeing them performing the ritual, seeing all that, it was almost like magic.
Mm.
It was a pretty one one of the coolest moments that I experienced so far. I'm looking for what's coming up next.
Well, that's the third moment I'm looking forward to is, I don't want to overlook the fellowcraft degree. It's a beautiful degree in masonry. There's a wonderful lecture that's part of it. I'm sure having gone through it before, but and those listening are familiar with it. But yeah, nothing can really replace the moment when you are raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason, and anyone that's gone through that moment knows the significance of those words. For you, it will get to be the second chance, and then that's when I'm excited to say, my brother, my hermano Luis Diaz is a Master Mason of his lodge. How much of a goal is that for you, and how much does that stay in your mind as you're now going through this proficiency work, almost 5-6 months into your journey?
Mm, it's more like, what do I need to learn? And the degree is gonna come. The lectures are gonna come. But what do I need to learn and to bring into my life to make it better, to be a better person, to be a better man, to be a better husband, to be a brother, a better friend? What do I need to learn now? Because that's where my concentration is. It's not so much on reaching the degree. I know that will come, and I will be very happy and excited about it. But it's something that I talk to my brothers sometimes over there. It really, what is gonna define you as a Mason is what you do, how you conduct yourself, and how you treat people. So the aprons, the degrees, and I mean the names of the degrees and all that, there's extents, and there's some people that are just chasing the goal on the aprons. They look cool. I'm not gonna say it's not. They look really cool, but it's more like where you taking from Freemasonry and bringing it into your life, and that's where I'm putting all my energy and my concentration on. I want to learn my degree. There is a meaning for every word that you're saying. There's a lesson that you have to learn, and that's where I'm putting my concentration on right now. The
Now we
degree
can
is going to
cut this
come.
question out of the podcast because it wasn't
Oh.
on the outline, and I don't want to put you on the spot. But you and I have talked about this. I said, Luis, in my opinion, somebody like you, with the work that you did in your previous Masonic journey and the research and the deep investigation that you did into the meanings of the words that we use, now going through this process, what are you going to do if they come up and they're like, hey, Luis, it would be great if you would get in the line of the officers? And is this something that you would want to pursue, that road to the east to become the worshipful master someday?
If it's presented to me, I'll take on it. But first I have to check with my wife, because that's a time-consuming thing.
Right.
And
Well, because you're still a young guy. Like, I think that's the other attractive thing about you as somebody that they would look to. You've got excellent leadership qualities, and I just feel that if there's anybody that, in my opinion, when you sit here and you hear the story of Freemasonry and like what it's about, and as you said, it's not about the titles and the aprons, it's about what you do, how you develop, how you truly become a better man. I think that you would be a great leader of a lodge just based on what we've talked about. Of course, I'm not a member of your lodge, and I don't want to, put words into anybody's mouth, but I think you understand the great honor that comes in being able to go through that, or go through those chairs and experience that.
it really is a truly an honor. But if you don't understand that in order to lead, you need to learn first how to serve, then what are you going to do? I mean, yeah, you might get to the chair and feel good about yourself, but that's not what being on the chair means. It's a lot of work. It's you have to guide your lodge through whatever it's going to happen. You have to make sure that everything is going right. You need to achieve certain goals. And what's going to be your mark as a master of your lodge? You're just going to pass by, feel good about yourself, and maybe get the past master Yule and go home and be happy about it? Or what's the impact that you're looking for? So if you want to be into a position of leadership, the question is like, okay, what do you want to do for others? Not for yourself, but for the ones who you are going to lead.
Right. And I think that you're also kind of the epitome of the words that reach across any jurisdiction that Masons would pick up on, but having been tried and never denied. I look at you as kind of the story that you've gone through. So to close out our discussion tonight, I'm just curious. I asked Brother Abdul the same question. What words would you have for a man who's listening that would be in a similar situation that you were a few years ago, that was contemplating wanting to become a regular or accepted and Freemason?
Follow your heart. Deep inside, you know what it's right. You know what you want to do, and just have the courage to follow it, because the reality is this is your journey and you have to make the most out of it. So if you got to go where you got to go, you have to work on what you have to work, and that's up to you. And that journey it's not to the outside, it's to the inside. What else do you need to be a better person? Because if the first place that you were born a Mason is your heart, what else do you need to feed that passion?
Perfect. And now that we've had you on, and it was about a year wait to get you here, you got to promise we're not going to be waiting for the Master Mason recap story on this one.
That'll be awesome. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but for sure, I'm working on it. I swear I'm working on it.
Well, this has been the Craftsman Online podcast. Again, big thanks to our brother for coming on this week, Brother Luis Diaz from Onion Creek Lodge of the Grand Lodge of Texas. Best of luck as you go through to that fellow craft proficiency.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege. And I'll keep you posted on whatever else is going on through our weekly text messages.
If you've enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more, you can just tell Siri or Alexa to play the Craftsman Online podcast. We are available on all streaming platforms with new episodes every Monday morning. Until next time, let peace and harmony prevail.